Hello, dear students, dear colleagues, dear friends, wherever you are. This is Assistant Professor Ibrahim Tarat Ibrahim. I'll be delivering you a lecture concerning how to design your curriculum vitae or CV. Today we are going to talk about something important concerning the way that oneself can market for himself to get a good job, and there must be rules that we have to follow in designing a CV away from the traditional approach of writing or designing a curriculum vitae. We are going to present this important lecture in English, and the target group is the newly graduated students from universities, especially the ones who graduated from language departments and translation departments. And such type of CV is used for marketing for those new graduate students in the, let's say, market or labor market, especially the foreign companies or the international agencies. We are going to share the screen. Yes, exactly. How to design your CV. We are going to talk about the most important topics presented in the outline, the introduction, the content of CV, style of writing, and sections of CV. So we are going to start with the first topic. The first important part is the introduction. The CV must be used for marketing the person in the labor market through grasping the needs of certain company in a way that matches the specifications of oneself. In other words, you must market yourself to the company in question in an appropriate manner. What does this mean? This means that before thinking about designing your own CV, you must know to whom the CV is directed, what type of company you are looking forward to, what type of job that you want to get, what type of career that you want to work on, to develop yourself. All these things must be borne in mind before, let's say, designing a CV. In other words, the CV should not be done haphazardly. It should be done meticulously, and every single word written in the body of your CV must be intentional so as to be able to convince your employer to hire you. That's it. This is the point of designing a CV. So before thinking about writing a CV, designing a CV, you must know what type of company that matches your specifications, your skills. So for example, you are a newly graduated student from translation department. So your skills should be translation, written translation, oral interpreting, simultaneous consecutive interpretings, and other important things related to translation. So you have to be able to know your specifications, your real skills, your capacity, and what type of company you are looking forward to. For example, there's a company or foreign agency looking for, let's say, professional translators, and you are a newly graduate one. So how can you convince them that you are able to get this job? By showing them this important type of CV in a way that matches their own mentality as well. The content of CV, the content of your curriculum vitae, font and color, you must make use of a very important type of tool that can make your amazing CV look professional. You must use crystal clear font with the employment of blank Microsoft Office, and never think about using fancy fonts and colors. So some people think that when somebody make use of, let's say, colors like red, yellow, let's say violet, purple, in the body of his CV, her CV, he thinks or she thinks that this type of style will attract the attentions of employers? The answer is no. There is nothing like that. You must think about writing your CV with the employment of plain tools, plain elements like Times New Roman font, and it should be 14 or 12 depending on the type of style that you follow. Besides, you have to use black color. It's okay, there's no problem if you use certain color like the dark blue or something like that, so as to make this incredible CV look amazing for the employers that wants to hire you, for example. So don't you ever use fancy colors, don't you ever use, let's say, different types of font in the body of your CV, so as to avoid distracting the attention of your employers. This is the most important thing that we have to talk about in the body of CV writing. So you have to use blank Microsoft Office without any sort of diagrams, without any sort of, let's say, style, without any sort of, let's say, lines. You have to make it as simple as possible. The structure, you have to put your name first, your phone number, and email. It's worth mentioning that your email must be professional, must look professional. It means that your email address should not embrace nicknames. For example, there is someone called Muhammad and his email address is Hamoudi. There is someone whose name is Kamal and his nickname is Kamuli. So he added kamuli@gmail.com. It doesn't look like a professional email. So you have to what? You have to create another email that's valid, that's workable, and that sounds professional, so as to be added to your CV. And your full name, your full name, your contact info, including your phone number and email address, should be put on the top of your curriculum vitae. Style of writing. Style of writing, it's one of the most important, let's say, elements of designing a CV. Try to make your CV as concise as possible, because employers read hundreds of CVs every day. Therefore, you have to avoid making it boring, not to mention adding useless details about yourself that don't address companies' needs. Moreover, your CV should not exceed 2 pages. So, as we said from the very beginning, it should be simple, it should be professional, and it should not, let's say, be boring. It's not, let's say, a good habit to create a prolonged CV for a newly graduate one. Why? Because this type of CV will make the employers feel dull. Why? When we talk about foreign agencies, international agencies and companies that you are looking forward to get a job in their amazing, let's say, foundations and companies, you have to know something important, that those people, those employers, don't read your CV only. There are many people lined up to get this job, not only in Iraq, in all countries all over the world, even the States, even United States of America, even Britain, Europe, and Arab states. So when someone announces a job offering or a job vacancy, many people file their emails online. So once those employers decided to read these, let's say, CVs, they are going to skim these CVs. They don't have time to read them intensively because they are hundreds and hundreds in number. This is why you have to make it as concise as possible. And don't you ever add, let's say, useless pieces of information. Let's say, I like, let's say, hiking. I like, let's say, painting, doing so and so. If these things match the habits and the goals of your company, you can add them, so be it. But if these things don't, let's say, address your company's goals and needs, try to avoid them because they are useless. And they feel that this is something useless at the end of the day. And it should not exceed 2 pages, as I said, because they don't have time to read all these pages. we reach the important, let's say, part of our presentation. It's concerned with sections of CV. The first part, it should contain a summary about yourself. It contains your contributions, skills, abilities, and it should not exceed 10 sentences. So you have to know how to write a simple paragraph of 8 to 10 sentences that speak about yourself, that summarize yourself, that summarize who you are professionally, from the professional perspective, your contributions, your skills, your know-how, your abilities, etc. That match your company, that match the company that you are looking forward to. Second part, it's concerned with the essential skills in detail. In other words, you have to add your skills in brief. I mean, when we talk about the skills at the beginning, in the first paragraph, it should be written, let's say, in a very summarized manner. But when we talk about the second part, which is called the core section, for example, you are well versed in legal translation. Don't you ever say, I'm well versed in legal translation. I know how to translate a legal text from English into Arabic. No, don't you ever say so. In this part or section, you have to write down legal translation because you have added the subheading core skills or essential skills, legal translation. If you have the ability to interpret consecutively, write down beneath this section, consecutive interpreting, simultaneous interpreting, written translation, outside translation, writing, let's say, essays. All these are defined as skills, but don't define these skills because you are going to define them, inshallah, once you are going to have a job interview. They're going to ask you what type of skills that you are armed with, and would you please tell us something about these skills? So at that time, you'll have enough time to explain yourself, but you have to mention these skills under the subheading of core skills in this way, in this style. The third part, it involves or revolves around your experiences and contributions in the professional life. Besides, these experiences must be arranged in a reverse chronological order because your future employers are interested in learning about your latest experiences, not the oldest ones. If you have no full-time job, you can add your part-time job, a voluntary work. Besides, you can add your hours as well. As long as we are addressing newly graduate students from departments of translation and language in general, they don't have full-time jobs, except for the ones who are studying in the evening classes. They might have full-time jobs and they think about changing their career or, let's say, quitting their current jobs and thinking about translation industry. This is the case. But if this is not the case, when I address newly graduate students, they might have part-time job. They might be working voluntarily. They might be working as a freelance translators or, let's say, workers in this regard. They might be working in the social, let's say, environment. So you can add these things in a list presented professionally in the body of your CV. And if you don't have any experience, this is a big deal as well. And there is a question mark and a flag raised at the same time. You have to add your awards at least. For example, we have smart students in every single university, and those people didn't work neither in part-time nor in full-time jobs, but they have got a lot of awards like letters of appreciations from university president, from Mr. Dean, from, let's say, from certain departments. They might have got certain awards, let's say, participating in social activities, publication of papers, etc. All these things will add credit to their own CVs. The fourth part, it's related to hobbies. It's possible to write about your hobbies in the body of your CV if they sound relevant to the job you apply for. and serve the goal of your employers. So speaking of hobbies, for example, hiking, playing, let's say, guitar, or let's say listening to something like radio, or listening to certain symphony, or writing short stories. If you think that these hobbies match the goals of the company that you are looking forward to, add them. But if you think that these things are not gonna add anything, avoid them. And we reached the end of our today's presentation. Thank you so much for you all, and bye for now.